I'm going to talk briefly about contingency contracting. Now, some of you may know what this is, others may have kind of heard about it, but not actually be kind of fully aware of what it is. And what's quite interesting is, especially if you work as a personal trainer, nutritionist, something like that, you've most probably entered into a degree of contingency contracting just by getting a client to sign up, especially if you book blocks of training. So if your client has purchased 6 blocks of training, 12 blocks of training, something like this, there's a degree of contingency contracting in that in itself, because they're committing a sum of money towards a future outcome. And so you've kind of almost got implicit contingency contracting. In my research, we use more explicit contingency contracting, and what we did in the research was the trainers asked the guys that were taking part in the program to commit a sum of money. Now, the sum of money that you commit has to be significant to you. It's no good saying, oh, we'll go with a tenner, because if you can afford to write that off, then it's not going to have the effect we're looking for. So what you're looking for is a sum of money that's significant enough that it's going to elicit a degree of commitment. And so typically within the groups, the guys would commit 50, £100, something like that. Now what happens is that's then committed and it's held basically, and providing the client completes the program, they then get that money returned to them. And the reason this is helpful is if you're getting kind of halfway through the program and you're thinking, oh, I'm not quite sure if this is right for me, if you know that if you drop out at this point you're going to lose your £50, £100, that might be enough to get you over that little kind of hump, as it were. The reason that's significant is, in my research we found, anecdotally coming back from the trainers, that they were saying that if you could keep people in the program for about 8 weeks, it was like they got it. That was their words. They said, oh, it's like they got it. They understood why they were doing it. And what was interesting was the data reflected this. You could see levels of self-efficacy increasing up to about the 8-week point, and then very often they would flatten off at this point. So it's like they've got sufficient self-efficacy to now carry through with the program. So the data was reflecting what the trainers were actually sensing. So if we know that we need to keep people in the program to about 8 weeks, if at week 6, 7 they're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I want to carry on with this, the contingency contracting aspect might be enough to just keep them in the program long enough that they then complete the whole thing. Now, what happens to that money if they drop out? Again, we let the group decide this. And so some groups, what they did was they nominated a charity. And so if anyone dropped out, that charity got that sum of money. But in other groups, they decided that if somebody dropped out, the sum would be split between the remainder of the group. So it's very much individual decision, but you're respecting their autonomy in that you're checking the way you want to use this money and the actions that will take place if somebody drops out of the program. Now that's certainly one way to do it. It's certainly the way we did it in my research, and we achieved an 86% success rate. A big part of that was the fact that we were screening people beforehand in terms of psychometric testing to make sure they were ready to change. But the contingency contracting most probably assisted in those times when you have up and down spells when you're doing anything, and so the contingency contract might have helped maintain self-efficacy, the decisional balance, whatever it might be. I'm speculating, I don't know, but it seems to be helpful, and other research suggests that it does work. I did a behaviour change webinar last week actually, and one of the trainers on there, she did it an interesting way that I'd not come across before, but I think is equally valid. And basically what she did was she built that sum of money into her total cost. And so when somebody purchased a package, there was already a degree of contingency contracting within that. If they completed the program with her, she gave them £50 back. So that's another way of doing it. It's kind of build it into the package already. Make sure clients understand that it is built in, because then they've got that incentive to kind of stay with the program. So I thought it would just be useful to explain that in a short video. And I think contingency contracting in conjunction with psychometric testing and then regularly testing to make sure somebody is psychologically ready to change will help improve your weight management program, and is quite liable to improve your overall success rate as well. Thanks very much for your time.